So I'm super curious to know how they're helping out and what the management like is for them. So let's start with sheep though, because we've talked about that here on the podcast before. How are you using the sheep? When do they come in? What's their job? And how do you manage them?
So the sheep comes in usually the first week of May. We lease them, actually. We don't own them. And so they come in, and we have two shelter like surrounding our vineyards, and we have some, permanent fencing. We have like those electronets, semi-permanent fencing. And so basically we just, as soon there's clover, as soon as grass to eat, we just send them in the vineyards. A sheep nature is always to put their heads down. And so if you have no cover crop, if you have no grass, it will start like eating your leaves. So like,
Okay. And where are you at in May on your phenological scale? Are you,
May, we are like,
how long are the shoots?
I mean, the shoes, like, May, I mean, bud break is right now for us. Might have like, first week of May, maybe like 5 leaves out,
Okay.
no, it's pretty here in Premium Finger, like it's pretty slow. In mid-May is when suddenly we have the big push,
And the sheep are not eating those young shoots?
They will do some cleanup. They like some vines, especially the end panels. But when we send them like a 4.5 acre plant, we planted like 6x8, so you're like 4,500 plants per acre. So like at the end it's like they will destroy maybe like, when I say destroy, is destroy, but they might destroy like I would say 50 plants in total, and the rest they untouched.
So you talk a lot about spray timing, and then you talk also when we've had our conversations in the past about output, gallons per acre. Let's start with timing before we jump into products and things like that. What's your philosophy on spray timing? When do you start? What's the critical period? You talked about something about it doesn't matter what's going on at home with the family. When you get to a certain level of cap fall and bloom, you're in the vineyard spraying no matter what. So walk us through the season on timing for your sprays, just without products, just timing.
All right, so like it I would say for the last 10 years, start spraying. I would say like like this third week of May, the first spray of the season, we do a simple like stylet oil just to clean up the downy mildew that was maybe left over, carry on from the year prior.
And we're talking calendar dates, but let's also mention phenology. Like, where are we in the growth stage?
Yeah, we have like 6 leaves out. We like this tall.
Like a 5 to 7 inch shoot, something like that.
Yeah. That's about right. And after that, I will do like I would jump in right away with a sulfur spray. 2 weeks after you started oil.
Yeah. You don't want oil and sulfur too close to each other. That's not
I learned a mistake, so I won't do it again.
Okay. When you say you learned a mistake, you sprayed an oil early in the season. And then you sprayed sulfur too soon afterwards.
A few days after I sprayed sulfur, like 4 days after, 5 days after.
Okay, good. Okay, noted.
And we had some burn. So I learned, it's again learning from mistake is very important. And I would try to every 2 weeks come back with a sulfur spray, like an oil spray. And after the tea spray is a separate like category for me. Like the tea spray, maybe like every 7 days I would do a tea spray.
And I always hear this and I say it myself, coverage is critical with any protectant products that are non-systemic, and that's typically what's being used in organic or biodynamic production.
100%. So many people told me like, you didn't put in too much. I say, no, if you, any like non-systemic product, as you said, you have to have coverage from the top to the bottom. You cannot miss nozzles, and there's a lot of adjustments, getting your sprayer ready, calibrate, at least once a year or twice a year. Like so many people I see, they don't know how to calibrate the sprayer. It's a very basic thing to do. It's easy to do. There's a ton of videos on YouTube that how to do it. I use the bucket system, but it's very important. So you have a perfect penetration and you have better protection for your canopy. And we stopped spraying. My last spray is always on the first week of August. And
which
after I put
is
my,
phenologically where with the vines?
we are like, we're about to hit veraison.
Okay. And you don't spray from veraison to harvest at
No,
all?
no, my last spray is a sulfur and quiver, it's a liquid copper spray, a copper
Okay.
soap. And that's it. And I put my sprayer away, and all my neighbors look at me, like, "You're crazy." And no, I let the vines decide. I will, if needed, I will do a tea spray. I can do. It happens in 21. I did a whey and a honey mix spray because I can see there's some. It was getting wet and wet. And otherwise, no. First week of August, I put spray away.
And we'll talk about canopy management because when you're exposing clusters from leaf removal, that can be an issue. But before we move away from sprays and spray programs and go on to your canopy management, I want to mention how you've also innovatively used technology to help reduce disease pressure in your vineyard. You mentioned you have these air inversion fans that you use for frost protection, and then this is really an out of the box or outside the box thinking. uh, you know, the first time I've heard of it was from you, that you have these fans that are basically for creating inversions or using the inversion layer above to, to prevent frost events in the spring. But you're using them during the growing season and you're using them to dry out the canopy after a rain. So are you going through and saying, okay, rain and standing water on the vines, that period of wetness on the vines is where we get downy mildew, black rot, and powdery mildew. So you went in and you said, well, let's just dry it out. So tell us about that. How are you using these fans?
Yeah, I started using those fans. It was maybe 4 years ago, and it's like, if people don't know, it looks like it's just a tower, and it's a fan. It's very tall, and it's sitting in the vineyards and not very pretty. And one day where it was wet, it was an inch of rain, and it was no wind, and everything was wet, and it was doing bloom. And I look at the thing and say, wait a minute, I can never run them in during growing season. Technically, because one fan can protect 10 acres of grapes, winter time. It's like, okay, well, how about I start it up? And so I fired up the wind machine. It's on a propane, it's using propane. And I ran it, and I ran it full speed. And after 20 minutes, the whole canopy on 10 acres was completely dry. Cluster
Well, in
leaf
20 minutes, you
in
dried out your
20 minutes. I
canopy.
mean, that thing moves so much air. It's unbelievable. I mean, like, unfortunately, I was running them this morning because we had some frost this morning. But it is amazing how much air that thing moves. And so it's like, why not? The cost of running those wind machine is minimum to the risk of losing your crop. And 20 minutes, especially during bloom, as I mentioned when we talk about it, was very critical moment, like bloom, post bloom. This is where, like, any rain, you can have like entry for powdery, for black rot, and mostly black rot, but also like downy mildew. And running those, it is like, and I mean, it's great. It's great. And I
Yeah.
teach the interns how to run them. So if I'm not here on the weekend, and you say, hey, just rain, it's like, is there any wind outside right now? No, there's no wind. Everything is so wet. It's like, all right, fire them up, 20 minutes, and you're good to go.